Special member request, we have Whirr Muta, guitar tabs, guitar lesson. And with this one, I'm going to be arranging this in a drop D tuning. Just kind of makes the different chords that I was hearing here, just makes them a little easier to manage. So just dropping the E to D, so we'll have the D, A, D, G, B, E. And for this initial intro section here, we kind of have this one little intro part here that just really only happens here. We start here by 4th fret on the D, A, D, and then we'll be hitting a 6 on the B, and we're kind of doing like, where we're hitting this, maybe skipping the G, so not really pressing on the G, so it's just kind of deadened. Alright, and we give it a strum, and then we can just kind of give it a continuous strum, like just loose shuffling through it. Something like that. And we work our way through it here where we'll hit that, give it a strum or two, and then we'll mix in this 6 on the G, then over to the 8 on the D here. Alright, and then we bring it up to 8s on the DAD, and we'll have an 11 on the G, and we're going to walk this note down here, so we'll go 11, 10, and we're just kind of continuously strumming through it as we're walking it down. Alright, and then up here we'll hit 11 on the D, and then move over to 6s on the D and the A here, the low D and A, and then we'll want this 9 on the middle D, just kind of give it that minor vibe, and we'll want the 6 on the G under it. So we're just kind of barring the 6s all the way down to the G, but we want the 9 on the D here. And we give that about a beat, and then we make that 6 on the G and 8. Alright, and then we'll just strum it holding there for a bit. Then we'll move over for like the last couple beats there, or the last beat or so. Before we move on to the next section, we'll do this chord where it's 9s on the low D and the A, and then 8s on the middle D and the G. So we're just kind of bunched up here like this. And that's just kind of a little few strums there at the end of it, just to get to the next section there. Which this next section, it kind of starts the same way, and this part here is pretty much just kind of what keeps going in the verse. That initial previous part, it almost feels like that was just a one-off thing in the very beginning, but this section here, which is similar, feels like it just repeats in the verse. So it starts with that same chord and kind of scaling through the 4s, where we go 6B, 6G to 8D. Alright, but now we take it up here to those 8s on the D and A, but we do this interesting shape here where we'll have our 8s here on the D and A, but then we want this 11 on the middle D, and 10 on the G, and the 9 on the B. And we should give that a few strums, and then we just take that shape, drop it down 2 frets, so that we got 6s, then a 9, 8, 7. Strum through that for a little bit, and then we'll have another little kind of brief chord at the end, which is up here at the 9s again on the D and the A and the middle D now, so just 9s here, but then we do 11s on the G and the B. And like I said, that section there is kind of what repeats for the verse. Into the pre-chorus, chorus section here. Pre-chorus starts with kind of a similar chord we've seen with, got the 9s on the low D and the A, and the 8s on the middle D and G here. And we just strum through that for a little bit. Do a little transitional chord, which is just kind of like this E flat minor here, the 6A, 8 on the D, and G, 7 on the B. And And that's just a couple beats right there. And then we land on this chord, which is kind of like our beginning chord of the verse, the 4s on the D, A, D, but then we want 6s on the G, B, and E. Alright, and we just carry that through like a couple measures, and then we'll repeat from the beginning a handful of times. And once we get to the chorus, we have kind of like these dynamic strums. Everything gets a little bit bigger and louder too. We'll be at 8s, and we got the 8 on the low D and the A, and then 11 middle D, and 10 on the G. It's kind of like that chord from the previous section. If you want to include that 9 on the B, probably not a big deal. But it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, like real distinct hits on it. And then we move over to this chord, which is, you know, a chord we've seen at the end of the previous section, which is the 9s on the D, A, D, and then the 11s on the G and B. And we just finish, you know, by strumming that out, and then repeat that with the, you know, the 4 strums into that chord, and just carry that throughout the chorus.